On paper, this should be a pretty good matchup. Both the Rays and the Yankees have pretty good starting pitching. They both have a dynamic offense. But most importantly, they f***ing hate each other. So there's definitely some bad blood between the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays. Benches have cleared multiple times. There's been guys hit. There's been guys thrown at. There's been hard slides. There's been all sorts of stuff between these two teams. But mostly there's been a lot of chirping back and forth. The Rays have gotten the better of the Yankees over the course of this season in terms of wins and losses against each other. And also the Rays won the division. But this Yankees team that the Rays are going to be facing in the American League Division Series is not the same team that the Rays beat up on this year. This is a much better team. For the most part, everybody's healthy, and they're playing with a ton of confidence. And they've shown something this postseason that we really haven't seen from the Yankees since that 2017 magical run, resilience. Part of that might be because they had such a bad regular season, and they've been through so much. And they're kind of an underdog for the first time in a while. Everybody expected going into the season that the Yankees were going to run away and hide in the American League East and probably cruise to the World Series, but that hasn't happened. The Yankees had to fight their way through this season just to get into the postseason. And then they are the away team for the 3-game series, which ended up being a 2-game series against the Indians, and they got to face the probable Cy Young winner, and then a guy, Carlos Carrasco, who's given them a ton of trouble. They had to face an Indians team that kept bouncing back, but somehow the Yankees have found a way to get it done. They swept the Indians, and they're riding high. They've got a few days off to rest, to heal up some of the guys who are banged up. Luke Voit with his feet issues. We've had some other guys dealing with little things here and there. They did work out in Cleveland before they took off for San Diego. So presumably guys like Jay Happ and some of the relief pitchers who didn't get to throw very much got some work in. And so that they can be ready later on in the series, because the rotation is going to start over, basically. We're going to start over with Garrett Cole on Monday, and then Masahiro Tanaka on Tuesday in Game 2. And then from there, you're probably going to just work it out. Happ, Garcia, Montgomery, whoever is the best matchup, bullpen days, whatever they decide to do. So let's talk about the breakdown between these two teams and go over who really has the advantage. So at catcher, the Rays have Mike Zunino, who batted .147, had an on-base percentage of .238, and a slugging percentage of .360. And that was somehow worse than Gary Sanchez, who batted a career worst .147, also .253 on-base percentage, .365 slugging. Sanchez did have 10 home runs, and he had a good game in Game 2 of the ALDS in Cleveland. He hit that big home run. He had a sac fly. But Kyle Higashioka, whenever Garrett Cole pitches, and actually Kyle Higashioka can swing the bat a little bit. I don't think people give him enough credit, so I'm giving this one to the Yankees. At first base, obviously the Yankees have an MVP candidate, the American League, actually Major League home run champ, Luke Voit. He also had a .948 OPS. The Rays look weak, but they have Ji-Man Choi and Nate Lau, both guys who have hit the Yankees well in the past, so this one is kind of a toss-up, but I'm definitely giving it to the Yankees because Luke Voit, as we've said, is just tremendous this year. Okay, so I probably got this backwards, but Brandon Lau, one of them is Lowe and one of them is Lau. He's a really good second baseman for the Rays. He's a great defensive player. He puts up runs, but DJ LeMahieu was the undisputed batting champion in the major leagues this year, and he's a great defensive player, so I'm going with the Yankees here. Although this is a position where both players are a force to be reckoned with, and both teams need to be careful. As hard as this is for me to do, I'm going to give the advantage at shortstop to the Rays. Willy Adames is a fantastic defensive player. He's also pretty good offensively, and Gleyber Torres has had struggles both offensively and defensively this year, though he did have a pretty good Game 1 of the division series. He picked up 4 hits, hit a home run. He looked like the old Gleyber. And he was pretty good in the postseason last year, too, so he could be one of those guys with that Derek Jeter gene where he just kind of raises his game up in the postseason. Let's hope so. At third base, the Yankees have Gio Urschella, who had a monster game in Game 2 of the wild card round where he made a couple of awesome defensive plays. He also had that big grand slam that really got the Yankees back into it. You know, that was part of that resilience I talked about earlier. And he is on fire right now, and when he's red hot, he can be as dangerous as anybody. Yandy Diaz has missed a bunch of time via injuries this year, but he did have a .428 on-base percentage in 138 regular season appearances. He's a good defensive player, but right now, you have to take the hot hand, and again, I'm going with the Yankees, Gio Urschella. In left field for the Rays, it's basically been Randy Arozarena and Manuel Margot since Austin Meadows went down with an oblique injury. For the Yankees, they have Brett Gardner, Clint Frazier, Mike Tauchman. I know a lot of people are going to take the Yankees here, but I'm just calling it a draw because there's so many different factors. Any one of these guys could have a big game. Brett Gardner could have a big game. Clint Frazier could have a good game. Randy Arozarena could have a good game. So to me, left field is a push. In center field, the Yankees have Aaron Hicks, who had a big triple the other night, but mostly he's not been great. He does take a lot of pitches. Kevin Kiermaier typically kills the Yankees. He's also one of the best center fielders in all of baseball. Center field advantage goes to the Rays. And in right field, Aaron Judge is getting ready to heat up. He had that home run in Game 1 of the wild card round. He's been pretty quiet since he came back from his calf injuries, and that tells me just because of the type of player he is, that he's due. I really believe that Aaron Judge is getting ready to go off, and there is not typically a MVP of the division series, but if there were, he would be my pick because I have a feeling like he's getting ready to go off, and he's playing with a chip on his shoulder because let's face it, Aaron Judge has been somewhat disappointing over the last couple seasons with the injuries. He recognizes how important this series is to the Yankees, and he is going to show up. Meanwhile, for the Rays, they have Hunter Renfroe. He's nowhere near the player that Aaron Judge is. And at DH, Giancarlo Stanton is heating up. The Rays pretty much use Yoshi Tsugo here. Tsugo has a .197 batting average, a .314 on-base percentage, and a .395 slugging percentage in his first season in the big leagues. Obviously, I'm choosing Giancarlo Stanton here because, look, when Giancarlo is in the lineup, when he's healthy, he's one of the most dangerous hitters on the planet, not only because of the home runs, but he works the count. He drives the ball all over the ballpark, and he's very difficult to pitch to. Pitchers have to expend a lot of energy pitching to him, which means that they're more likely to make a mistake or to make a mistake to one of the guys surrounding him. He makes the guys around him better. In the rotation, there is no question. Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Charlie Morton is a better trio than Garrett Cole, Masahiro Tanaka, and Jay Happ. But Garrett Cole might be able to pitch 2 times in this series. In fact, he probably will. And that means the Yankees just need to get one winning start out of Masahiro Tanaka or Jay Happ. The Yankees also have Deivi Garcia as an option. So while the Rays are pretty good, and they have a pretty good bullpen, the Yankees also have a pretty decent bullpen, the Yankees do have a shot if you can get 2 dominant starts from Garrett Cole to make this series a lot easier. One thing that does concern me, but just a little bit, is that neither Jay Happ or Deivi Garcia has started a big league game in a while. And those are both guys who rely on command of their pitches. So that's usually the first thing to go with excess rest because you come out a bit strong. Now, granted, the Rays are in the same boat. They swept their 2-game series, so the back end of their rotation hasn't started in a while either. And this will be a 5-game series, 5 games in a row without off days. So that means you're going to have to use your whole staff. So really it's just going to come down to which staff executes better, which leads me to the keys of the series. Key number 1, the Yankees have got to hit, and they've got to hit early. Now I know that Blake Snell and Charlie Morton and Tyler Glasnow, those are some impressive pitchers. They have great stuff. But nobody really put up unbelievable numbers this year. Tyler Glasnow had a 4.08, Blake Snell had a 3.24, and Charlie Morton had a 4.74 ERA. These guys are hittable. These guys are very, very hittable. And if the Yankees can come out and score early and put some pressure on these guys, I think they may fold. And I also think that may, take some pressure off of this Yankees rotation, which outside of Garrett Cole has been a bit spotty, let's face it. Key number 2 is that the Yankees have got to hit situationally. We can't fall back on the home run this series. Maybe later in the series, as the bullpen starts to wear down a bit, then maybe you can start thinking about getting that big 3-run home run late in the game. But early on in the series, runs are going to be at a premium. These pitchers are rested. So you've got to be able to move runners over. You've got to be able to get the base hit with runners in scoring position. That's why guys like DJ LeMahieu and Gleyber Torres are going to be super, super important. And number 3, the Yankees have got to tighten it up on defense. They did not have a great year defensively. Tampa Bay is a pretty good defensive team. So if the Yankees want to compete in this series, they cannot give up extra outs. You've got to make the routine plays. I'm looking at you, Gleyber Torres. You've got to make the smart throws. I'm looking at you, Clint Frazier. You've got to keep your head in the game behind the plate. I'm looking at you, both of our catchers, really. So I feel like as long as the Yankees do those 3 things, they've got a really good shot to win this series. My prediction, it's going to get ugly for Tampa Bay. The Yankees are hungry. They don't like the way this season went. Most of these guys did not play in these games that the Rays won. I feel like the Yankees are going to come out swinging. Yankees in 4.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps YouTube suggest this channel to other Yankees fans.